Hello there and welcome to another video from Change Tips and Tools. And this is the second video in this series where we're recreating the resource capacity planning template that we did in Excel in SharePoint, PowerApps and Power BI. And in this video we're going to focus on how we deal with unique records using the patching technique, and we're also going to look at how we filter our gallery, and also then we're going to create our program and project list by reusing the category screen and tweaking the code and the columns. So without further ado, let's do this. So the next thing I want to do is I want to add some additional checks to make sure we're not adding duplicates. So what I'm going to do is hold down the Alt key, or I can press the play button here, and I'm going to click the edit mode, just so we can see these buttons visible here. And then we're going to press the X to go back into design mode. So now these are visible because we've set that variable. I'm going to click on the save button, and then I'm going to open the on select property here at the top and open that bar. And let's just expand this a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another check. So what I'm going to do is, before we patch and save our items back to this collection here, this call category data collection, is I'm going to make sure it doesn't exist in there, or we're not duplicating the category. And the way that I'm going to do that, so let's create another variable. So I'm going to do set. I'm going to call this variable vardup, V-A-R-D-U-P, comma, and I'm going to do a lookup. So I'm doing the lookup function. My source is going to be the collection, this collection category data. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to compare the title to this text input here. So that's going to be text input category dot value. So taking the value, I'm going to close the bracket on the lookup, I'm going to close the bracket on the set variable, and I'm going to do semicolon. Let me just do a return there. So what's going to happen here is it's going to do a lookup, and whatever it finds, it's going to write back to that vardup variable that we've just created. And if it's blank, I know there's no duplicate, so therefore I can do the patch. And if it's not blank, I don't want to write the patch, and I want to let people say we can't allow duplicates here. And the way that I'm going to do that is an if statement. So I'm going to do if, and I'm going to do the is blank test. So if that variable that we just created, vardup, so if that's blank, then go ahead, do the patch. Otherwise, if I do a comma, we're going to do a notification, and I'm going to let them know and say duplicate categories not allowed, and do an exclamation mark, close the quotation mark, and then I'm going to do a comma. The notification type is going to be an error, and I'm going to put it up for 3 seconds. So that's 3000. Close the bracket on the notification, close the bracket on the if statement. I'm going to do a semicolon. I'm just going to format the text, and there you go. So we've now got this test here. So I'm going to set the variable. If it doesn't find anything, it'll be blank, so it'll then write the patch. However, it does find something in the collection, then it'll say no duplicates allowed here and won't save it. So let me test that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to press play. I'm going to add a new record. Let's call this test 1 in here. Let's do test 1. I do 6 and I save that. That's fine. It's added it to the collection. Let's do another new one, and let's do a test again. Yeah, and I'm going to make this number 7. Let's do save, and boom, it's saying duplicate categories not allowed. So I know that is a duplicate, and I can delete it, and I can go ahead and exit, and that'll write fine. It'll write that test 1, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to delete that, or even just do undo. So we've now got that extra functionality which stops the duplications before we even write it back to SharePoint. So now that we've done that, we need to create some more lists to work with, because we need to be able to get our programs, and we need to be able to get our projects in here. So let's go to our SharePoint site, and let's add 2 more lists in here. So I'm going to new list. I'm going to do a blank list here, and let's call this programs. I'm here in the UK, so that's how we do programs. I'm going to create that. So title is our program. So let's add, let's go to settings here, list settings on, and I just want to make sure title, select that. I just want to make sure it's enforce a unique value, and click OK. Again, it's telling me it needs to index it. That's fine. I'm going to click OK there. Wonderful. And then go back to programs. I'm not even going to bother changing that to program, because really it's our front end that we're going to be looking at. So let's add, go back home to our home part of our SharePoint site, and I'm going to do new. I'm going to do new list. And let's do, again, a blank list. And let's call this projects. And I'm going to create that as well. And again, I'm just going to go into the settings here, because I want it to be unique. So I'm going to list settings, and I'm going to click on the title column, and again, just enforce unique values. Click OK. And again, it's telling me that it needs to index it to enforce unique values. I'll click OK there. Right, so those are our 2 SharePoint lists that we've created. So I'm going to go back to my Power App, and let's go into design mode. I'm going to go here for my data, and I'm going to add some more connections, data sources, which is going to be the program and the projects list. So I'm going to do add data. My connector is going to be SharePoint. I'm going to use the connection I've already made. Over here on the right, I'm going to choose Change Tips and Tools Training SharePoint site. And there you can see the 2 lists that we've just created. So I'm going to select Programs, and I'm going to select Projects and say Connect. And there you go. I've now added those to my data connections. Wonderful. I'm going to go back to my tree view. So let me just shrink the screen categories down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this, because the code that we've done in here now, apart from the fact they're only going to be single columns, we're going to replicate that. So I'm going to go to my app here, and then in the on start property, yeah, let me just open this up. So here I've got my, if I do a return, I'm going to do 2 forward slashes, which is a bit like leaving a note in here or a comment. It's not actual code. So I'm going to say this is my category variables. Yeah. So those are my category variables, and I'm going to take these, and I'm going to copy them. I'm going to do Control Copy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a semicolon at the end there, Then I'm going to do a return, and then I'm going to do 2 forward slashes again for a comment, and I'm going to say this is my program variables, like so. I'm going to do return, and then I'm just going to paste what I've just copied there. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to change that cat out. See where you've got cat in there? I'm just going to make that PROG in uppercase P for program, and swap that cat out for a prog for program. Yeah, and then finally my temp ID here. I'm going to swap that out to be prog. Then all I'm going to do on the prog new record, instead of having it for category defaults, yeah, I'm just going to change that to the program. So I'm just going to get rid of categories, start typing. There's my programs, SharePoint list, and just take the defaults from that. And I'm going to do a semicolon, and I'm going to do a return, and I'm going to do another one for my projects. I'm going to do 2 forward slashes for the comments, say project variables. I'm going to do return, and I'm just going to paste again. And again, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to change this cat out now to be for projects. So I'm going to do PROJ instead of cat. So let me swap those out. And again, I'm just going to replace the categories in here, the projects SharePoint list on the defaults. I'll do these projects. Let me just put a semicolon there. And all I'm going to do is right click on apps and do run on start. And if I check that, you can now see it's now set all those variables. Right, we're ready to go on that. So next thing I'm going to do is I want to replicate this. So I'm going to right click on it and say duplicate screen. What it's going to do is going to copy everything that's in there. Wonderful. Let me just do save to save what's been done there. Then all I'm going to do is I'm going to, on this, is I'm just going to change these names now to be program. So I'm going to do screen programs, do return. On this button edit mode, I'm just going to change that cat_1 to be PROG for program and do return. On the undo button, I'm going to change that. Return. The cat new here. I'm just going to change that to be, get rid of the cat, change it for prog. Hit return. And then what I'm going to do is just going to make sure these are all in the right order as well for tabbing. So let me now go through and just rename all the controls. So I'm going to expand these out and I'm going to rename them and so on. So let me just do that. Okay, and there you go. So I've now gone through and just renamed these. So where I've got cat, I've replaced it with prog, PROG for program. And where I've got categories, I'll just replace it with program. And you can see I've done that for all the controls except for the priority control here. So what I'm going to do is just expand that out so you can see these 3 dots here. So I don't need this here anymore, and I don't need the and all I'm going to do is just on here, I'm just going to just delete it from there, and I've just got rid of this one here as well. I'm just going to delete that as well. So now everything has been deleted. So we've now got the single file. You know, I've got some errors showing here. So the next thing I'm going to do is on the, I don't need to worry about the shapes or anything like that. See this button add program on the on select. I'm just going to change that to be, instead of col category, I'm going to call it program. In fact, I'm just going to call it, just replace that category with program. And again, that's going to feed off the program SharePoint list. Yeah, the programs. So that's there. Then you shrink that down. As far as the gallery, again, the items on the gallery is not going to be the col category program. All I'm going to do is get rid of that and replace it with the program. And then obviously priority doesn't exist in the program SharePoint list. So what I'm going to do there is I'm going to look for ID. And I'm just going to sort it in descending order. So let's do descending. And there you go. And then if I just click off it and then click back on the program main, it now will have loaded that collection. So if I go to my variables and collections, you can see there's the program data. There's obviously, you know, I can view table, but there's going to be nothing in it because obviously we've got nothing in the SharePoint. Yeah, but that's fine. That's fine for now. Let's go back to the tree view, and then let's take this as far as this item title. So that's fine. There's going to be nothing in there, so that's fine. I'm going to take this, which is the text program header now, and go over. So I can either do it over here on the right, which that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make that program like so and hit return. So that works. As far as the width on this, if I look at the width value on this and look at the width property, so if I go to width, that's fine. Because I renamed it, it's just automatically adjusted itself, so that's fine. But you can see the save button and the prog delete button have got problems because we've deleted that priority. So all I've got to do is again go to the X value, right? It's not number, so I'm just going to get rid of this here, and I'm going to do text input program dot. I'm just replacing that now with the X value plus the text input program width. Yeah, +1. And there you go, that's moved it now, and that's fine. Yeah, and this should move with that as well. And then I'm just going to make that +5 actually, because that was the padding. And then as far as the you can see there's errors on this, so let's look at what's going on with this. So on the save button, if I look at the visible piece, yeah, that shouldn't be var cat edit, it should be var prog. So let's replace that. Yeah. And as far as the on select, let's expand that out. Obviously these things don't exist anymore for this control, so I'm going to change this to be program. Yeah, because that's where we're looking. That's automatically changed, yeah, because of what we've got. And obviously then the priority value doesn't exist, so I'm just going to delete that, and I'm going to get rid of the comma there at the end of there, and then I'm just going to change this to be duplicate programs, not duplicate programs not allowed. If I just do the format, you can now see that's all fine. Shrink that one back. Let's select the delete button. If I expand that, and all I'm doing is just replacing the cat version of it with the prog version. It should all be exactly the same. So that's prog. So I'm going to create that collection called collection prog delete. Then the category, I'm just going to call that program. Yeah, there you go. That's fine. And again, do the visible property. Change that from var cat to var prog edit. Yeah, that works. Right, what else do we need to do? So we've done that. They're in the right order. Let's look at this. Let's look at the new button. Let's expand that. And again, just get rid of this. Remember, we made that prog in the app on start. So that's prog. Prog. Replace that cat. The collection is obviously going to be the program now. Program data. Excuse me. And yeah, that throat. And then let's change that to prog new record. And then the temp ID is going to be prog there as well. Right, and there you go. That works. Let's change the visible property to be again, it's the cat, it's prog. And then let's look at the undo button. So you'll notice that the text there has changed to the prog data button automatically. I've just got to change this variable to point to the prog variable now. So prog var edit and then prog var. So that's var prog edit and var prog edit there. So that's now done. And again, let's look at the visible property. And again, swap that out from cat to prog. Okay. So far now, I've now swapped everything out. The only thing I need to do now is I'm going to change this title here. Let's make that programs and hit return. That's great. And then I just need to change this edit button. And let's look at the on select on that. So let's expand this out. Let's make it a little bit so we can see everything. So I'm now going to go through all this now and change the cat and the collection, etc., and change all that out. So let's do that. That's going to be prog there. So you're going to be replaced with program. Please complete. That's going to be the same. That's going to be the same. This is going to be programs instead of categories. Programs. Again, change this to be program. And then where the created is blank, that's fine. This gets replaced with category with program. Program SharePoint list, and then change this cat out to be prog. Boom. Change is saved, and then here again, just in case our check misses it for whatever reason, I'm just going to say programs. Program needs to be unique. This button has changed automatically. So change the clear the prog delete collection, and then change this variable to point to the prog one instead of the cat. And there you go. That is all done. So let's give it a test. So I'm going to save and let's test it. So I'm going to do There's nothing there at the moment, so let's go into edit mode. Let's do new, and let's do now. What's going on here? So something's not working there, so let's just do undo. Let's close it down. The one thing that's not switching is this. So let's look at the, so you can see that this is all loading the right data, but the thing it's not doing is the display mode is not changing. And that's where we've not changed the var cat to var prog. So let's go into there and change it. Yeah. Wonderful. If I press save and then do play, as if by magic, if I do edit, do new, and everything's working. There you go. So let's put program A. Let's save that. Let's do another new record. Let's do program A again. Let's check that it's picking up that duplicate. And that appears to me that it saved it. Yeah. So if I do exit edit mode, right, please complete mandatory field. So an error's happened there. So let's look at what's going on. So when I do the save, let's just do the save button, and let's just look at what's going on with that on select. So we are where I'm doing var dupe. And there you go. I've forgotten to change it there. So again, just going in. And this is why it's good just to test it. If I do program data, this item title value, and there you go. Now, if I just format text, it all seems to be fine. Again, I'm going to do save. I'm then going to go and press play again to edit mode, new. Now let's do that test. There's program A. Let's save it. Let's do another new one. Let's do program A again. Try and save it. And there you go. So that's picking that up fine. So if I go into that and change that to a B and do save, that's fine. Let's do another new one. Let's do program C. Save that. Do new. You can see this is going red when it's blank, which is what we want. So let me just add some new records in here. And there you go. And then if I do exit edit mode, it should write it all back to SharePoint. Boom. Now, let's change this. So if I do, let's change the sort mode on this one. So if I go to the gallery and my items, at the moment, what's it doing? It's sorting it by ID. Let's do it by title. Oh. By title, and let's make that ascending. Let's see if that looks better. And let's save that and do play. Okay, that's fine. Why don't we add a filter capability? So if we type some text up here, it'll filter this here. So let's just do X there, and what I'm going to do with the screen selected, I'm going to do insert, I'm going to do input, and the text button, let's put that there in line with it. And let's make the font size 25. Again, get a little bit bigger, and let's just move that down slightly. Okay, that's fine. What size? Let's make that. Let's make it 45. Okay, I'm going to rename this. So let's call this text input prog. Do I want to change this? Let's just make it text input. Yeah. Text input search. Yeah. Okay, text input search, and I've accidentally hit that as well. So let's just enter there. Okay, so that's text input search. I'm going to insert as well. Let's do insert an icon. And there's that icon. Let's move it to there. Yeah. And then I'm going to, on the icon here, I'm just going to change that icon over here. See what? Add. Let's do search. Let's change it to a magnifying glass. So look at that. That looks better. So now, what I want to do is I want the gallery here. I want it to filter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a search there. So when I do sort, let's try doing a return. Let's do the search function. So my source, if I do a delete and bring that col, so my source is going to be the col program data. And if I do a comma there and just do a return to put that with a comma down below. So my text is going to be the search input box. I'm going to do text input search, yeah, dot value, yeah. So that's what I'm going to search for, and I'm going to search for that within the title column, yeah. And then I'm going to close the bracket on the search, and then we've got comma, and let's just format that. Okay, so that works. So what I'm doing here is I'm searching for anything text in there. So, and then I'm going to filter the gallery. Now, see, with this selected here, with this text input selected, I'm going to go over here. And you know where it says focus out? I'm just going to say key press. So it outputs instantly each time I input something in there, and then the gallery will react to it. Well, that's the intent here. So if I just go save and do play, so if I type, let's do a B in there, and there you go, it's filtering our gallery, our grid. Brilliant. Right, I like that. That works quite well. So I think that one works fine. So now what I want to do is I want to do the same thing, but for my projects. So again, I'm going to, because remember in the apps here on start, I've already done the variables. So this time we're going to replace prog with project, and we're going to use the program one because remember it's the same format. We've got column, one column, etc. Excuse me, etc. So I'm going to duplicate screen programs. Right click on it and do duplicate that screen. Now let me just go through and rename all the controls from screen. So this, for example, is going to be sort of screen program. It's going to be screen projects, and hit return. I don't need to worry about the icon. I don't need to worry about that. But this I will change from the prog to the proj. So let me just go through and rename all these. And there you go. So I've renamed everything now in there for screen projects. So it's all got proj, and I've got rid of the prog and replace it with proj, P-R-O-J. And I've got rid of project and replace it with, got rid of program, replace it with project. So now what we've got to do is we've got to go through and we've got to replace everything in here as far as the code's concerned and get rid of the prog and replace it with a proj. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to see this button, proj data. I'm going to go on the on select and change that out to be project, and change this instead of programs to be projects. Boom. And again, I'm just going to click off it, click that screen, so it's now loaded that project, even though that collection is going to be blank because there's nothing in the projects list. And then I'm going to go on the screen category here, and let's just change the items to be, instead of program data, make that project, that collection. The input's going to be the same, and everything else is going to be the same there. As far as the text input, that's going to be the same. As far as the project save, that's going to be project. That's changed. Let's change this to project. And then change this to be projects, not duplicate projects, not allowed. Their dupe's going to be the same. That's all going to be the same, and that's going to be the same. Let's look at on the visible property. Let's going to place that instead of a G, make that a J, so it's proj. And let's do the delete. So the select is going to be proj delete, and that's going to be project. Yeah. Again, let's look at the visible property, and that is going to be a J instead of a G. So that's that button done. That's that button done. Remember what we forgot last time is I'm going to go on the display mode here and change this here to be a J. That's fine. And then as far as the proj new, that's going to be, so get rid of the G and replace it with the J. It's going to be project data, and again change that to be a J, and change that to be a J. And then let's do the visible property is going to be the var proj edit. Let's do the undo, and again the buttons changed automatically, so let's just change the variable. Yeah, let's go to the visible property of that. Change that to a J. Okay, so we've now got everything, so that's now working, that's now working, these are all working. We've changed all of those. The new, we've changed the properties there as well, so we just need to go into the edit. And what I'm going to do is just move that up there above the edit. So, and then we just need to change all these for the project. So again, change that to proj. It's going to be project instead of program. Obviously, the beauty is I'm not having to rewrite the code here. I'm just changing the variables and the references to the data sources. I'm just changing that. That's going to be projects. It is. It's blank. Change that to a J. Changes say successfully. This is going to be project needs to be unique. Those have changed automatically based on renaming the buttons. I'm just going to change the variable to be var proj edit. There you go. I'll just press save there. Okay, I'm just going to change the header here to be project instead of program. And let's change the header here to be projects instead of programs. Hit return. So let's test it again. I'm just going to rerun the on start to reset everything. I'm then going to select the projects. I'm going to do save that and do play. And let's do edit mode. Let's do new. Let's do project 1. Save. So do another new one. Project 2. And do save. Do new again and do project 3. So let me add a few more here. Okay, I've added all those. Let's do exit edit mode. It seems to have written all those, and again I can filter on. Brilliant, that works. And if we go to SharePoint, so let's just do projects here, and there's all the projects that we've added, and then all the programs that we've added. Wonderful. So that now works as well. So that's where I'm going to end this video number 2 in the series. In the third video, we're going to focus on combo and drop-down boxes, and we're also going to create the cross-reference SharePoint list, where we'll also use a lookup type column in SharePoint. So that's all in the next video. So I hope you found this informative. If so, please remember to click that like, subscribe, and smash that notifications button for future content. And as always, I wish you an absolutely wonderful day wherever you are in the world. Please take care, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video from Change Tips and Tools. Bye bye now.